Okay, welcome back. We've put the lacing onto the drum, but we haven't yet put any tension into it. So the idea is to wrap the skin around the frame as tightly as possible to allow the membrane of the skin to vibrate once it's dried out and to make the beautiful sound of the healing drum. There is a introduce you to this. Basically it's a shaped branch, and this sometimes is useful to be able to just prise around the skin to bring it around a little bit tighter. Don't always need to use it, but sometimes it's handy. So let's go ahead and make a start about putting some tension into this. So we're going to start here. This is, put that at the top away from me there. This is where we started off. This is the tab here. So we want to try and get as uniformly as possible the skin over the edge, and we gently, not taking a lot at a time, we'll have to go around several times, and we're going to pull some of this loose through. And it is about following that flow that we talked about earlier, which makes everything just work more smoothly and in tune with nature, after all, and the flow of things. So here we go. It's dead easy to get lost in the maze of lacing, but once you've done it a couple of times, you'll get to know the way it's working. Going backwards and forwards and around and around. As you can see, we've already pulled through nearly 2 feet worth of lacing there. So that's it's put a little bit of tension into there. It's put next to no tension into this side of the drum, which is what we've got to focus on next. That's where this tool sometimes comes in handy, and it is just to pop it down in between the side of the drum frame there and the skin, and just gently pull back, and it'll bring the skin up and around. And as we do, you see we've got now that loose. Bring it through to the next. It's possible to do this without the use of this tool, but this just makes it a lot easier. As I say, we're not putting huge amounts of pressure onto this. We want to try and do it evenly. If you put so much pressure on one point, what happens is it'll force the drum frame into a distorted shape. The pressure won't be even. You might end up with dead spots on the drum as well that don't resonate very well because there's uneven pressure and tension in the skin. So we go around several times, as I say, applying the same amount of pressure on each pass. The use of this tool really is more applicable when you've got this very, I'll keep going on about how thick the skin is, but this one is particularly, and this is very useful because it takes a lot of force to be able to pull this thickness of skin around this frame. Tie that off just loosely like that. So as you can see, it's starting to take shape. at the end wheel, all the bits of skin in between will all get tucked down like that and clamped. Don't know whether you can see very clearly on the video, but in the previous video when we talked about the lacing and the positioning of the holes, and we talked about this, the skin that's in between the two holes is what's taking the weight and the pressure. So you can see this area of skin is what's taking all of the stress and the strain on the skin. It's important to know these things for reference, so that you're aware of where the stresses and the strains and the tensions are going into the skin. So we've turned this over, and you can see we've taken a lot of the tension, put a lot of tension into this here now. A lot of the looseness is gone. It's not advisable to strike the face of the drum with any great amount of force while it's still wet. This can damage the drum and make stretch the skin unnecessarily in a certain point, which can lead to flat spots and it not being properly tightened when it's dried. But to just gently feel the tension is quite okay, and it's quite necessary to be able to gauge when you've got enough tension in the drum. So we're going to go around again. This time we're not going to use this, we're going to pull by hand, and this is going to bring any remaining tension out of the head, but also what's really important is the tension that's in the lacing itself needs to be very, very firm, because that's what's going to maintain and keep the tension, and also it's what we're going to be holding. We're going to form the handle out of that. So it is a matter of taking the strain and pulling it through and guiding it around its journey. So we hold it, put the tension in, hold it, pull the tension, get the next one, take up that tension, and then put the tension there into the next hole. Pull it, hold it, pull it, take up the slack, hold it, put the next bit in. There we go, just go round and round. And you'll soon get a feel for where the next one is opposite. Okay, so the last 2 times we've been round, we've managed to take out 2 feet of lacing. This time, let's see how much we can take out. This time we've taken 16 inches, more or less, 15, 16 inches out. And that's the stretch, not only of the skin around the outside, the head, it's not the stretch here, it's more the stretch in the lacing. We're squeezing and squeezing, pulling all of the moisture's being squeezed out. You see we've got quite a lot of moisture in the bottom of the drum there now. So we're getting close to the stage where we're going to form the handle. I would say that we've been around 3 times now. I would say go around another couple of times to get as much of that tension out and as much of the stretch of the skin. Different skins react differently. Deer skin's got more give in it than buffalo or horse skin. Horse skin's got more give in it than buffalo skin. If you use different skins and make several drums, you'll get to know the characteristics of the skin that you're working with. And I know probably I'm not going to get a lot more from this buffalo. It's probably stretched as much as it's going to stretch. But my teacher taught me, when you think you've got enough stretch and enough tension, you've been around enough times, then that's the time to go round again. to just keep going, even if you're only getting an inch or two of extra stretching to it. It's pretty solid. We're going to start doing the lacing for the handle. So this area here, we'll put all of the skin down inside, all of the lacing. And we're going to pass the lacing through and come up at the other side here. Now, we want to look at this first one that we started with, the one with the tab and the hole. And we'll follow that across to holes number 2, and then as this one comes back down towards hole number 3, where it meets that one there, that's where the lacing needs to come up, in that gap there. You might want to rewind that video just to check that you got that right. Keeping the tension on. Swing it round so that this tab is now facing you at the bottom. I'm going to pull down. Okay. So we've pulled it down towards the middle. We want it, this clump where all the laces meet in the middle, we've got to try and do this by eye, satisfy ourselves that's the centre of the drum, that's where we need to hold it. Looking at the tab again, the first point, that's going to be the bottom of the section of 4 that we're going to choose to make our first branch of the 4-direction handle. So we've got 16 points divided by 4 leaves 4. 4 4 is 16. So each of the arms of the 4 directions is going to contain 4 points on the lacing. So the one with the tab is going to be the bottom one of the first 4. So if we count up from there, 1 2 3 4. So those 4 are going to be bound together. So we get all the lacing here, we're holding this, I mean it's probably slipped back a bit now, we're going to have to keep that tight. So 1 2 3 4, we'll pop the lacing down inside and we'll come up by the tab. So we'll pull that tight, hold with our fingers there, and then pull that. And then we need to be thinking, is that still central? Now that looks pretty central to me. And then we're going to wrap around now, wrap around these 4. And we just do that by dropping the whole lot of skin down and coming up at the right place. Pull it through, pull it round, squeeze them together and pull gently. So there we go. You can see it starting to form already. You can do it like this. Let me find, this is a bit of a long way of doing it, but some people prefer to do it, find the end and then put that down through there and then pull the whole lot through. That's another way. So every time you pull it through, just grab those 4, a little squeeze, just a little pull. We don't want to be pulling for England on there, or Wales, or Scotland, or Northern Ireland, or wherever it is you're from. We don't want to be doing that. We want to be pulling firmly, but not excessively. It's up to you how long you make your handle, how far you come out. You don't need it to be huge. 2 inches, 2.5. 3 inches, that's more than adequate. Smaller than that and it's a bit tight to get your hand in. Bigger than that, you need lots more lacing, and you're really pulling the ends here, you're pulling them in tight. And if you have got a weak skin, a thin skin, then that's when breakages might happen. And it would be a shame to get to this stage and then get a break and you have to start all over again. So bear that in mind. These things happen sometimes, and it is about the energy of what we talked about earlier, about what energy, your state of mind you're in. And if you get frustrations and breakages, things like that, you've got to take them in your stride. You can't get stressed. Okay, so I'm going on ahead. So these 4, the idea, what we're going to do now is we're going to go down here. We're going to do the next lot of 4, which is these 4 here. To get there, we go all the lacing down in the middle of those 4, and we're going to take it back to the other side of the drum here. So if we count 4, that 4 there, that 4 there. So in the middle here, directly opposite the ones we've just done. And we pull that through firmly like that. We're not going to lace those 4 that are opposite. We're going to go round in a clockwise direction. We're going to do these 4 next. So we pull that in as tight as we can, and we go underneath the next 4. Don't worry if this is looking a little bit messy. We will be tidying it up before we finish. So again, squeeze those 4 together and just gently pull. This might look totally different than the drum that you make. I'm just, as I say, can't keep saying it and you're getting bored of hearing it. Very thick skin. Consequently, we're going to have quite a thick handle. Although we made the lacing reasonably narrow, it's very, very thick. Okay, so roughly that's about the same sort of length. So we'll leave it at that. You play it by ear. Do what feels right for your drum. So there's the middle, easier to see now. And give it a pull. And you probably notice this is getting all knotted. Well, that's okay, just go back over it and unknot it. So we turn around, the next one is these 4, next 4 here. So we're going to tidy this up here now, and we're going to make it slightly more bulbous in the middle, so we're going to pull that there. I'm going to go underneath here, but we're not going to start binding this yet. I'm going to send that around there to bind this little bit there where it's showing. Try and go underneath. go over the middle. Now this is purely aesthetic. It's about what it looks like to make it look a little bit more attractive. Where should we go from there? I think we'll come back round to there now. This varies from time to time on each individual drum, the best way to do it. But what I would say is that these four often are the hardest to get. The ones you have to pull the hardest on. If you're not careful, this last arm of the four can end up being really wide, a lot wider than the others. So this last four, you will need to put more strain and pressure onto. There's less give in them because you've taken up all that stress and put all that tension into these. It's made these more tighter and harder to pull together. By far the hardest one is the last one. There we go. That's looking good. A nice uniform cross. Although probably not as central as I would have liked. Probably would have liked that to have been about there. So we'll get to this point, go down through the middle again, but we're not going to take it anywhere other than to here. And this is what they call a half hitch knot. That's just tied it off there nicely. I'm going to come up this side and I'm going to do it again slowly so you can see. So you're coming out on the outside, take a loop and put it underneath and through. And then with this end, when we pull this tight, we want to pull it from underneath and back towards ourselves. That's it. And then we come back to the opposite side, up through the middle, take about that much, make a half hoop, tie a knot, and then that's a hanger. And we're going to use that to hang it up to dry. We can trim that bit off. Now, all that remains to be done, really, is to make sure all of those bits in between the lacings are in like that. They don't need pegging. Sometimes I would get a kind of a piece of leather and a clothes peg or something clamp and just clamp those down. Those are all staying down nicely where they need to be, so we don't need any extra help for those. So basically that is your drum, and it's a beauty. It's thick skin. It's going to have hopefully a lovely deep tone. The only downside to this drum is it's going to be a heavy drum. It's going to be for somebody who doesn't mind holding a heavy drum. I think that's going to be really pretty. Thanks for watching. We're going to go and hang this up now. It needs to be hung somewhere where it's not going to be too hot, So you wouldn't want to hang it over a heater or in direct sunlight or anything like that. If it's the summertime, you know, in the shade, in the breeze. The breeze is the great thing that dries them the quickest. If it's not, if it's the winter time, then hang it in the house somewhere, but as I say, not in front of the heater or on top of a heater, or just in a nice warm room, and within thick skin like this on a buffalo drum, maybe a week or so it'll be dry. If it was a thinner skin, it would dry quicker. But you know, they're all different. They've all got their own energy and their own life, and they will do what they do. And you'll see. Just keep an eye on it. Don't play it until it's dry completely. I mean, go back and test by all means, but don't strike the face of the drum with any considerable force until it is completely 100% dry. And enjoy your beautiful new creation. There are lots of things that you can do, processes to go through once you know your drum's been birthed, to connect and cleanse and join and work with this beautiful sacred shamanic healing tool. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.